free. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard. Welcome to the edition of the Pan-African Pyramid Show here at Fairway Hotel. This is the People's Pan-African Parliament that sits at Fairway Hotel every Friday from 5 to 8 p.m. and entrance is absolutely free. A version of the same runs on NBS television or partner sponsors every Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. And of course, we have also other partners in the media, the Spy Uganda and Detective UG. Your speaker is Andrew Irumba Katsabe. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you once again for those of you following us on our various social media platform. Ladies and gentlemen, the creation of Sahel state in West Africa have regional blocs achieved their Pan-African historical mission. The Alliance of Sahel States is a confederation formed between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. It originated as a mutual defense pact. The original pact was created by the three countries on 16th September 2023, and the confederation was established actually on 6th July 2024 this year. It is an anti-French, anti-ECOWAS in outlook. When you look at it, everything they are doing is anti-French, anti-ECOWAS. The pact was created during the 2023 Nigerian crisis, in which the West African political bloc ECOWAS threatened to intervene militarily to restore civilian rule after a coup in Niger earlier that year. All of these three states were increasing ties with Russia during the creation of the organization. As such, Russia is presumed to be brokering this agreement. Ladies and gentlemen, European Union Foreign Minister Joseph Borrell stated that it led to a new geopolitical confederation in the region. The confederation's stated goal is to protect against possible threats of armed rebellion or external aggression by emphasizing that any attack on the sovereignty and territorial integrity of one or more contracted parties will be considered an aggression against the other parties. In other words, if you attack Niger, you have attacked all the three members of the new bloc. But what's the background? The background has been that the Sahel has been the site of an ongoing jihadist insurgency since 2003, which has led to many conflicts in the region, such as the Mali war and the Boko Haram insurgency. All three member states have had their pro-Western civilian governments overthrown by their militaries, and each is ruled by a junta as part of the coup belt. In 2022, to be specific, Mali withdrew from the international-backed G5 Sahel Alliance. Niger and Burkina Faso did so in 2023, leading to the announcement of the dissolution of the framework by its last two members, that is Chad and Mauritania, 3 days later. Now, in the 2020 Malian coup d'etat, Assimi Goïta and the National Committee for Salvation of the People seized power in Mali after overthrowing the elected president, Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta. Goïta later led a second coup in 2021, which deposed the interim president, Badon, who had been nominated to lead a transitional military government. Just months later, in 2021, Guinean coup d'etat, the National Committee of Reconciliation and Development removed the elected Alpha Conde and installed Mamadi Doumbouya as transitional president. A faction of Burkina Faso's military overthrew the existing military government in the September 2022 coup d'etat, installing Ibrahim Traoré over Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba, who came to power in the January 2022 coup d'etat, which toppled the democratic government of President Rochmarch Christian Kabore. Most recently, the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland removed the elected government of Niger's Mohamed Bazoum, installing Abdoumane Chani and a new junta in the 2023 coup d'etat. All these three alliances members states are suspended members of ECOWAS. After the coup in Niger, ECOWAS threatened to intervene militarily and restore President Bazoum's government, which resulted in the Nigerian crisis. The Nigerian crisis government has the backing of Mali and Burkina Faso, which promised military intervention. Guinea, which has been offering diplomatic support, the promises of military aid resulted in the creation of the alliance now as a mutual defense bloc for the three nations in an attempt to stave off an ECOWAS intervention. On 28th January 2024, the three countries actually announced via a joint statement that they were withdrawing from ECOWAS. In May 2024, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger finalized in Niamey a draft text creating the AES. Its objective is to finalize the project relating to the institutionalization and to operationalization of the Alliance of Sahel states. The alliance aims to create an economic and monetary union which, with a proposed currency called the Sahel. On 6 July 2024, the military leaders at a summit in Niamey, Niger, signed a confederation treaty to strengthen the existing mutual defense pact. The signing marked the conclusion of the first joint summit of the alliance. Ladies and gentlemen, we ask now, let's discuss, will the creation of a new regional bloc of the Alliance of Sahel State, call it AES, in West Africa, solve the historical Pan-African mission, a free Africa?
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Right Honorable Speaker, I think this is a very exciting moment for Africa because it comes on the 130th anniversary of the Berlin Conference of 1884. You can do the mathematics.
1884.
Yes.
And historically, this Berlin Conference is the one that partitioned Africa?
Partitioned Africa.
Are you trying to connect the dots?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right Honorable Speaker, in 1884, the European powers are the ones who set all the problems we now see in Africa. All the countries we see in Africa were not determined by Africans. All these countries we see in Africa now were determined by the colonial powers.
And they sat in Berlin.
And they sat in Berlin. They did not even sit in Africa. And I have always said that the day we begin to redraw the boundaries of Africa, then we shall be on the way to true Pan-Africanism. Because as long as we are not redrawing the boundaries set by the colonial powers, we cannot talk of Pan-Africanism. If someone has drawn a prison for you to be in, and you're in that prison, and you're talking of freedom, then you're not doing anything. In 1884, these people created countries haphazardly. I give you the example. Today we have a lot of Sudanese nationals here, and we thank them for that. I want to use their country as an example. The word Sudan, what does Sudan mean? Sudan is an Arab word meaning black.
The black.
Yes. Sudan means black. It's a black nation. But then how did the black people in Sudan lose their identity and control and power? It's because when the nation of Sudan was being created, they borrowed the leadership of Sudan from the north.
From the north?
Yes. The last president of Sudan, who was disposed of, Bashir. Bashir was not born in Sudan.
Umar al-Bashir.
Yes. He was not born in Sudan. He was born in Egypt.
Hey.
So what they did is that in Sudan, they imposed
A leader.
A leader who's not a black person. And this leader began to oppress our people in Darfur, Blue Nile, and the entire black Sudanese population.
The Blue Nile state.
Blue Nile state, Darfur, Kordofan. All these people are blacks. And by the way, the problem in Sudan is not religion.
Hey, what is
No. It's the black people being oppressed by the Arabs.
Ah.
And so I am very overjoyed that young African revolutionaries, true African revolutionaries, have now come up and are redrawing new states. If you look at those people, the young people who have taken over in Mali and in Niger, these are young boys. They are actually in their 20s. Not so? They are actually the age mate of the young boys who are on the streets in Nairobi. They are the age mates of the people who rose up and chased away Bashir. They are age mates. Because Bashir was chased away by people in the 20 years bracket. So, Right Honorable Speaker, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso faced a certain particular problem. The problem of terrorism. And I want to assure you that in neo-colonial states, these young leaders have asked the question, who is fighting in West Africa? Who are the terrorists? Who is Boko Haram? From where? And once these questions are asked, you begin to find that it is the same Western world. So that says it all. All the wars that we hear are being propagated. But I want us to say from today, listen, these wars are not by Americans. These wars are not by the British. These wars are not by the French. These wars are by those who are manipulating the Americans, who are manipulating the British, and who are manipulating the French. Right Honorable Speaker, in the West Africa, the moment the countries began to suspect British, American, and French forces dealing with rebels, the rebellion has gone down. Because these are brilliant young men, they began to watch. Who is bringing the weapons? My brothers, I want to ask you one question. Is there any African country that produces guns, bazooka? Guns, rockets, rocket launches, and guns, and bullets. Which African country produces them? Can Boko Haram produce them? Who is supplying Boko Haram with those guns? Who is supplying? The same European countries, not so? Because if we left Africans to fight without foreign weapons, we would fight with arrows and bows and knives. So where are the guns coming from?
That is
where are the missiles coming from? They are coming from the Western world. Right Honorable Speaker, those young boys, those young presidents of Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, may the God of Africa bless them. You see what those people are doing? One of them has bought 1,000 tractors, divided, given the people. Then we have leaders buying weapons, tanks. These boys, within a short time, one of them was arrested, the finance minister. Asked the finance minister, where is the money? Go and ask from the population, where is the money? So we have these old African leaders on this continent who are still donating minerals to China, to Russia, to America. But these young men, they have chased away flowers. They have said you have to buy our uranium at the market price. Because there were some international fixers who were exploiting the uranium from Mali, from Niger, actually going to sell them at a higher price to other African countries. And Putin was so tactical. He knew that the strength of France is its nuclear energy, because they don't have hydroelectric power. So he tampered with the uranium, sponsored these coups. They have cut France off. Of course, I would not support a situation where these people owe allegiance to Russia or to China. No. I would like them to go by the words of Kwame Nkrumah, that they should neither face Russia nor America. They should face forward. They should just sell our uranium at the market price in a good cooperation with the true French people, with the true British people, with the true American people, the masses who are equally exploited. I tell you, the situation is very bad in France. Very soon, the common man in France will not have food to eat. There is no electricity, as our Frenchman is telling us. There is no food. The cost of living is bad. Weather is bad. Yet, we have this food in Africa. Do you know that those people block food from Africa reaching there? Isn't it? When you move in the streets of Kampala, what do you see? Plenty of food and fresh fruits. Why can't they be put on the plane and sent to France? The international bourgeois, they block that trade. You see? They block that trade. He will tell you. Right, Honorable Speaker.
Finally.
If we dismantle these old neo-colonial states, we shall end corruption on the African continent. If those new presidents, Right Honorable Speaker, can do two things. They should not only create one army, they should not only create one currency, which they are planning to create, but they should also create a new African electoral system.
Professor.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And I wish and bless the new alliance in the Sahel.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
We know that the forces that are called terrorism need to be questioned, right? In the case of the Sahel, in the case of the Alliance des États du Sahel, right? In the case of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, who are the terrorists? Who are they?
I don't know.
They're African. Other Africans. They're Tuaregs. Mainly Tuaregs. The Tuaregs, the Halpular, but mainly those are the Tuaregs. The real conflict, the real fight is with the Tuaregs. Who is using the Tuaregs to destabilize the region or put in place like the right people? It's another question. And we do know that the French Secret Service have had a long traditions of engaging with the Tuaregs. For some point, they play the power in the south. They play Bamako. They give power to Bamako, to the politicians in Bamako. And then when the politicians in Bamako are not happy, they fuel them in the Azawad, in the north of the country, and they fuel the Tuaregs, right? All of this come from one single origins. There were no issue with the Tuaregs before Gaddafi was killed, right? That has to be clear. I think we spoke about that before, but Gaddafi, the Tuaregs were in the hand of Gaddafi. Gaddafi was organizing the Sahel with the lot of money that he has. He was stabilizing the whole regions so that the Tuaregs could not be played against the people of the south, right? So you do have a longer history of resistance in the Tuareg movements that refuse the colonial borders that you spoke about, right? There's those colonial borders that have been established that include and totally exclude the Tuaregs. The Tuaregs have been moving in all the Sahara from the longest time. They were responsible for most of the exchange between West Africa and Arabia Saudi. So, terrorist, yes. African as well. What does it mean? We're going to try to elucidate that, but we need to think clearly when we use those terms, and we need to don't deny the historical reality at play. The Tuaregs and the people of the Sahel always have pushed the people of the desert in the south, especially the blacks, in the south of the country. And there's that long-term divisions, and now we use terms like terrorists. Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Africa's strongest foundation. What is he referring about? What is he talking about? He's talking something extraordinary of African history, something that happened in 58, 59, 60, 61, something that was amazing. There were a French president, right? There was a French president called General de Gaulle. He wanted to reorganize neocolonialism. He started to realize that Africa was asking a lot of independence. So he make a tour all in West Africa, and he came to ask every single colonies, do you want to stay in the French Empire, or do you want to be autonomous and independent alone? And so basically the choice was in 1958 you could become a colony that is associated with France and independent in 1960, or you could become really independent in 1958. Only one country did it. Only one country decided to say no to the French neocolonial project from the very beginning, from the first day. Which country was this? Do we know? It was the Guinea of Sékou Touré. The Guinea of Sékou Touré said no. You will have some pictures. We have some pictures of Sékou Touré. Sékou Touré said no. Said no, we don't want the France CFA. We don't want the French to deal with our money. We don't want the French to control our borders. We don't want the French to help us to establish air companies or to provide us weapons against our enemies. We do not want more of this. They said no to neocolonialism. What was the consequences? The French took everything. The French president was mad. He even forgot his hat. The hat is still in a museum in Conakry. He was so mad he forgot his hat. That's why today I came with a hat to remember that story. Sékou Touré said no to General de Gaulle. De Gaulle was pissed off. He took everything. Every single thing in the country was taken. I repeat, every single thing. The cables for phone calls, they were taken. The phones, they were taken. The pens, they were taken. The cars, they were taken. Every single thing that was owned by French colonialists was taken away from Guinea. The message was clear. To whoever decides to be independent from the French will suffer. Suffer, suffer, and suffer. What did the French do? They saw that he wanted to establish its own money, the national CD. What do you think they did? Did you think they allowed that? No. They went to the UK, the Secret Service, the French Secret Service went to the UK, they print money, fake bonds of the new CD, the very same money, they print the exact same money. And what did they do with it? Do you think they gave it to the poor? Do you think they gave it to the government so it can build a new dam and develop its country? No. They took it to an helicopter, they went in top of the forest, and they dropped the money. They dropped free money for everyone to take from an helicopter. Why? Because that means the money was dead. They killed the money like this, inflation. I don't know if everyone is familiar with the story of inflation, but basically if you have too much money available in the country, then your money have no value. Inflation, right? So they organize inflation by printing the money and sending by helicopters in the forest. I don't know if you can check online. This is an anecdote that is not often there. So what did Sékou Touré had to do? What did he do? He did the union between Ghana, Guinea, Mali. Sékou Touré went to run to Ghana and ask Kwame Nkrumah, that was independent since 2 years, look at what the French are doing to me. We need some support. We need some services. What can you do? You're a new independent country. Ghana was poor. Ghana was extremely poor. But yet they give loans to Guinea. And they try to protect Guinea. They send the best revolutionary men, they try to send the army men, they try to send all what they could to help the Guineans in the situations they were in. The French even refused that the Guinea enter United Nations. They refused, they veto the entering of the United Nations by Guinea. So it was a really big deal at the time. Who came to help? Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, and then after that, another leader of Mali that time came out. He was a teacher. His name was Modibo Keïta. He was a teacher for the kids that are here. He used to challenge his teachers a lot at school, the French teacher he had. So why am I telling you this story? Well, I'm telling you this story because the union between Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger that we observe today, the alliance of des États du Sahel, is the very sisters or brothers, call it as you want, as Union Ghana, Guinea, that happened in 1961 already. In 1961 already, those countries and some few leaders decided, you know what, this is not going to work. That neo-colonial project for Africa is not going to work. Our borders are too close. We're going to try to get united. Right? Did they win? No.
No.
Who was the winner, Mr. Irumba? They called it ECOWAS.
ECOWAS.
ECOWAS. CEDEAO in French. UMOA, CEDEAO. They reintegrate all those institutions to control the money, to control the borders, to control the space and the economics around it, right? They establish one by one those institutions that were regional forces. And for a certain time it worked. It brings some development, a little bit, in Ivory Coast, for instance, in Senegal in the 60s, 70s. But in the long run, it never worked. It never worked. Because you cannot be an independent country, a sovereign country, and only be associated with one partner. If you look at the trade between West African countries, it's a shame. It's a shame. When I arrived in East Africa, I was surprised. Like, there's so much trade between Uganda and Kenya, but you guys don't have the same money. But yeah, in West Africa, they have the same money, all of them, 16 countries, same money, but there's no trade between them. How do you explain that? This is the structural power of your money, right? Structural power of the franc CFA at the time, okay? So those two men, Ibrahima Traoré on the left and Assimi Goïta on the right, leaders of Mali and leaders of Burkina, we have had a really, really great introductions today, so I don't think we will, I have to get back to why are they in power, but they are in power and they're fighting. They are in power and they're fighting. And what they look at is they look at the history. And what they see is that the institutions that are putting them back, they believe are ECOWAS institutions. They believe the ECOWAS is putting them back. They believe the ECOWAS is the la chambre d'enregistrement. I don't know how to say that in English, but no one speaks French here? We have no Congolese today, just so that is. They are the record room. They just do a lot of what France do. And remember, France is not alone in that game. I've been saying that many times. France is hand in hand with the national bourgeoisie. It is our national bourgeoisie, our French national bourgeoisie, that is playing with the national bourgeoisie of Mali, of Guinea, and of those countries. And they managed to make money. They managed to make money. Don't get that wrong. Mali is exporting a lot of gold, for instance. A lot of people are involved. That is the national bourgeoisie. The national bourgeoisie have an interest, not yours. Is to get richer. Okay? Is to get richer. They will tell you, we do it because, I don't know, what do they say recently? Because of terrorists, because of inflation, because ABCD. At the end of the day, they do it for themselves. We need to keep them accountable. I need to keep my national bourgeoisie accountable because otherwise they come in Uganda and with Total, they do a lot of crazy stuff. You also need to keep your national bourgeoisie accountable. Otherwise they go to wars. They go to fight each other. They go to try to share the cake on that way. Originally, ECOWAS was made, originally the l'Alliance des États du Sahel, so Niger, Guinea, Ghana, Niger, Burkina Faso and Mali. It was started because ECOWAS countries were saying, no, don't go and do that much coup d'etat. ECOWAS is a democratic institution. We want power that are elected, and properly elected, right? And what did those leaders say? Because some people will say election is not bad, right? I mean, if elections were working and functional in Sudan, we would probably not be in the similar situation. It's because people refuse elections, right? But in the case of the Sahel, is it the same situation? They have been at war. They have been at war, right? Whether we like it or not, there is conflict between the North and the South. It's an old conflict, and there will be people playing it. The question is, how do we sort those problems? Do we sort them by elections? If you elect people in Mali, do you think the Tuaregs will reach power? Never. The Tuareg will never reach power with an election. But yet, ECOWAS impose elections. He says, no, we need elections. But the elections exclude a lot of minority groups on itself. So what do we do of the situation? ECOWAS say we want elections, and then the leaders of the Mali, of Burkina Faso especially, and Niger after, they said these elections don't work. We need an army to fight. We need soldiers to fight. Those elections brings who? A national bourgeoisie that because election is so expensive need to ask money everywhere. You ask money to EU, you have to ask money to these guys, you know he's corrupt, you know he take gold, but ask him money. You have to pay for these elections. And at the end the result will bring someone and will exclude another group, right? So that's the situation of the Sahel. Those leaders say what? We don't have the time for political quarrel. We don't have the time to speak of, do we want this, don't we want this? Now it's time for the militaries. And personally, I understand that. You spoke of the French army earlier. Do you know how the French army have betrayed us? Do you guys know how much the French army have betrayed the French? Do you know? 2 weeks. Took 2 weeks for the German to come over and take everything. 1940. 2 weeks. My grandmother was on the street when she saw like the tanks passing. 2 weeks it took them. So the French army, I wish they were protecting us first against the Germans, because those guys are serious problems. And then after, maybe they can go to Africa and try to sort out older people's problem. But first, when is the last time they protect the French? Okay? Like important questions that they don't like to hear. So I was speaking of the leadership. At the time when the Germans invaded the French, it was clear for the French that we need a military government. We don't want elections. We don't want to elect a new leader that is going to decide what to do with the German. We want the German out. Done. Simple. But in the case of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, could they do that? No, because the constitutions and ECOWAS said no, you have to go through election. So election will happen and the corrupt leaders will come to power and tell the military what to do. But the military are in the Sahel, they are in the desert, they are fighting. They are fighting face to face. They know exactly what they need. They know the weapons they need. They know the tank they need. They know the helicopters they need. And what do they say when they ask their politicians? They take half of it. They take a big part of the money. So those men, a lot of them really young, like people in this room, they seize power themselves. They seize power and they say, we give back power to our politicians when we are done with the terrorists, when we are done with whoever attacked us. And in that missions, we do not care about who gives us weapons. Because we know that those guys also receive weapons from other colonialist forces. Personally, I would point my fingers to Algeria, but that's another point. So they receive weapons, so we need weapons. And now they see the French sending weapons to the Ukrainians, because the Russians are invading Ukraine. So they see the French sending super sophisticated weapons. And now they ask themselves, but it's been 10 years we ask for those weapons. We have been asking those very same weapons to fight our terrorists. For 10 years you guys don't give us anything. You don't give us like what we need to win. So then they start to think, oh, it's because they don't want us to win. Is it true? Is it not true? I don't know. Personally, I don't know. I'm sure you know. I don't have personal evidence that the French...
I am sure you know.
But the truth is, I understand why. They think like this. If we refuse to give them weapons, but then white people get killed and then suddenly there's a whole mobilization and everything, but people die in the Sahel and no one gives a shit. That's a problem. We have seen this happening and re-happening. So what does those leaders propose? What does those leaders propose? They propose no political opposition. No political opposition for them. They said we don't have time for politics right now, we are at war. They say we're closing international channels that are linked to French or European interest, right? So France 24, for instance, a famous French channel like BBC or CNN, has been cancelled there. RFI, French international radio called RFI, really powerful in those countries that speak French as well, cancelled as well. So every single international media, a lot of international media are cancelled. They cannot function, they cannot work. So journalists are not allowed to do their work. They don't want that to happen. They don't want that to happen. Many arrestations without trials. There's a lot of arrestations. People get arrested. Unfortunately, I think Sudanese knows that story. Arresting people without trial is not a good thing. Even I understand there's a war. I understand there's people to fight. And I've written in many articles that you cannot win the war with a national bourgeoisie that is dependent on the money of EU and exports. So you need the militaries to do that job. But do they have to arrest many people? I'm not so sure. The ruler's law is neglected. I don't know, Professor, if you remember my intervention about South Africa, when I said about Jacob Zuma, that Jacob Zuma is one of the leaders that do not believe the law will deliver for the black people. So he believes that the constitution and all of this prevent the developments, and especially the economic development of blacks in South Africa. Here we have the same story. Those leaders don't believe in the rule of law. They think the rule of law, in ECOWAS, for instance, is against them. They feel it's against their political project. It's against what they're trying to do of their countries. It's against kicking out the French interest. That's what they think. Is it true or not? I don't know. Everyone can judge. But that's what they think. Constitution do not deliver development. That's what they think. Right? So now they break out of ECOWAS, right? They decided, nah, we don't want that anymore. So what's happening for their people? What are the consequences of that? The clear consequences. All of those countries we spoke about, none of them have a single access to the sea. So they cannot import anything, they cannot export anything. What are the consequences? I wanted to say what are the consequences of the situation in Sahel and what could be the consequences. So free movement of goods and people is restricted. Okay? So there's less and less movement of goods and people that are legal. It will happen, but it's going to be illegal. So what? So the state is going to take less tax on it, and the situation will be more of mafia than law. Some people might argue it was already some sort of a mafia that was there. But my concluding remarks. What could be the consequences for the people? Because that should be our main directions, right? When we have analyzed where does it come from historically, where are the actors, what are the consequences for the people? The consequences for the people is less free movement. There will be less circulation between people in the regions. Is that good, is that bad? I don't think for us Pan-African is something we are happy about. There will be a change in the tax system. So everything economically made in those countries will be overtaxed. So now something coming out of China will be cheaper in Ivory Coast than something coming out of Burkina Faso, which is the country at the north, right? Can Pan-African be happy about that? I don't think so too. Those three countries are now, they have no sea front. So they will have to deal with one country at the time to organize their exports and all of this. That might cost a lot, and that might destroy things that have been put in place already to allow those goods, right? But remember, when we have circulation of goods and people is one thing, but circulation of goods, what does it mean? It means the national bourgeoisie is getting richer, not the one that produced it. It's not the one that produced it. It's not the producer, it's not the farmer in the middle of Sahel that is getting richer from what he produced. Most of the time it's some national bourgeoisie guy in the capital that size the money, size most of the value of what has been produced, right? So to finish and to conclude, there's also a big gas oleoduct between Niger, Algeria to send to Europe. So both EU, Nigeria have an interest, and Algeria have an interest to calm down Niger. And say, Niger, it's okay, you can do what you want, but let the money pass. Let the money pass. And if we think that Niger can say no to Nigeria for long, we lied. Nigeria, at the end of the day, is a really powerful actor, and the president that side doesn't play jokes. So there will be a strong element here to look at. What will they do of that project? Because that project will bring a lot of money. Who take the money? Who start a war? Who don't take the money? Those are the questions that the future will tell us. But thank you for listening to me.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
Thank you, Sir Speaker. This ECOWAS, as we can see in West Africa, is not having the interest of the Africans. They are having their own movements. Because this issue of assimilation policy, which was brought about by these colonialists like France, is being brought back. I can refer to the book, in the book Africa and the Colonialists by Robinson Renin. He said that it was the economic interpretation of the time that sparked off the scramble for colonialism era in Africa and in different countries like India, Cuba, to mention but a few. They had their own interests. On that note, therefore, if I refer also in this issue how the colonialists started from, I refer you back in 1884 in the Berlin Conference. In the Berlin Conference,
140 years ago, to be specific. 140 years ago.
Yes. This man, by the names Otto von Bismarck, called the Berlin Conference in 1884. He was aimed at the colonial masters to shoot into the African continent mostly, not only for the benefit of the Africans, but for the benefit of their own sake. In that regard, therefore, it is the time, since we got independence, there is the problem of neocolonialism. This problem of neocolonialism may not develop Africa fully unless Africa is united. Whereby, in being united, we should be having almost the same defensive mechanism for security, to see that we become fully patriotic. Because some countries in Africa, which were aiming at getting independence, after the doctrine of Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana and other leaders of Africa, some countries were denied free independence. Some fought for it. That one of Zimbabwe, like you can see South Africa, the struggle whereby Nelson Mandela being jailed for 27 years because the Europeans did not want to give up the government because of the riches in South Africa. So it means those colonial masters, they are selfish because they did not really want Africa to develop fully, and they used the materials and all the riches of the minerals and agricultural products to their countries. In that remark, therefore, we should wake up as Pan-Africans to see that we sensitize many people to see that we develop economically.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I believe if these three countries get back their security arrangement, they can handle the Tuaregs. And the Tuaregs, in my opinion, can best be handled when a nation is created for them. A Tuareg nation must be created. A Tuareg nation must be created in West Africa. Then the countries like Nigeria dissolved. Because you see, the northern part of Nigeria is different from the south. It is like Uganda when they were creating this country, Uganda. They brought the Baganda who were 500 years advanced and brought them together with the Karamojong who were 500 years behind. So did you have a cloth while the Baganda had a back cloth? So these were the challenges of nation building. Right, Honorable Speaker, it has been a wonderful debate. I want to thank our Sudanese brothers. Africa will be one. One day we shall be one country. Darfur will be part of Uganda. Uganda will be part of Darfur. We'll be part of Sudan. Okay? That's the unity we want. Thank you.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
I want to thank you for always being part of this debate. My name is Andrew Irumba Katusabe Atenyi, your speaker. We meet again next Friday. Don't forget 31st of August, the Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards, the 7th edition. I sign out. Thank you.
Join us on the 7th Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards 2024 and 10th Anniversary Bonfire Dinner, recognizing and awarding Pan-Africanists who selflessly fought and defended the rights and freedoms of the black race globally. On 31st August 2024 at Fairway Hotel from 3 p.m. Dress code, strictly traditional or African wear. Theme, Pan-Africanism plus environmentalism equals to humanism. Book your dinner card now. Table for 6, 3 million. Platinum, 1 million. Gold, 500K. Silver, 400K. Bronze, 150K. Come, let's rekindle our roots. Call 0757 342 317 or 0782 342 317 to book your ticket now. Africa, Don't agonize, organize. Powered by Fairway Hotel, NBS TV, Grow Foundation, The Spy Uganda, Detective UG.